Hey guys, on the YouTube, what's going on behind the scenes a little bit, interviewing my buddy Jay Mayo. You got Danielle over here, so sneak in and say hi. You want to sneak in and say hi? Danielle is helping us with the recording. There's Danielle.
Hi.
And then Jerry.
Hey guys, how are y'all?
Takes pictures and all this stuff. I'm going to tag everyone so you can, if you need to go see their work, give them support. The biggest one that we just received this. It is a wood. What would you call that, man?
It's 3 different kinds of wood, but I'm not exactly sure what kind.
Okay, so it's a sign though. It's a wooden sign, and her company is called
Sheridan's Shelf.
Sheridan's
Shelf.
Sheridan's
It's my
Shelf.
daughter. It's my
So
oldest daughter.
go check that out on Instagram. We're about to go live on here, and we're gonna repeat all this. So let's about it. You ready? Yeah. It's hard not to look at yourself in the camera.
Oh, I'm just making sure I didn't know we were supposed to be in that camera.
You're good. So that's gonna be. They're gonna show that on YouTube.
Dude, it's all over your hand.
No, dude, it's
a marker. I did
the
it
marker.
too.
We got blue
Yeah.
paint, white paint. All I had to do was sign the sign.
All right. 3, 2, 1. What's up, guys? It's Mario for the Made for More Consulting Podcast. Welcome back. We are on episode 22. Glad to be with you. If you're on YouTube, you've already seen that we are off-site. Check out our Instagram. You're going to see that we're off-site. But make sure you watch YouTube because you're going to see the way we're set up in a different place. You can also see some of the things we're going to go over in just a second. But we are in Midland, Texas. And if you look at a map, that's 5 hours west of Austin. And so check out YouTube. You can see everybody that's helping us out. This is where I was raised. And today we are interviewing a longtime friend. He's a friend, mentor, counselor, leader. He was a pastor at one point. Are you legit doctor? Do you have
I do. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, doctor. So before all this, I just want you to know that if this is your first time, I'll introduce him in just a second, but if it's your first time, go back to episode 1, check it out. It tells you a little about who we are. And the reason I want you to go back and listen to episode 1 is because Jay is one of the guys that I spoke about in episode 1 regarding the idea of starting my own business. This whole Made for More thing came from Jay and I believe we're going to lunch at one point, and he mentioned, hey, why don't you start your own business? So without further ado, Jay, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hey man, it's so good to be with you.
Yeah, dude, it's cool. This has been a long time in the making, and just so you guys know, go to YouTube and you're gonna see this sign to my right, and it's a wooden sign that Jay's daughter created, which is amazing. I walked in, he said, hey, I have a surprise for you, and it is our Made for More logo on this one, and 3 different types of wood, and her company made. Go make sure you give her some shout outs and some love. Make sure you order something. If I know she's backed up.
Yeah, she's back. I told her I'm going to give you a shout out, and she's like, well, no one can order anything because the shop is backed up right now.
But make sure you keep following her. It's Sheridan's Shelf.
Sheridan'sShelf.com, and then I'm sure it's the same thing on Facebook and Instagram. She's super creative, doing a lot of great stuff. And
yeah, man, that's cool. So, guys, Jay is a friend of mine. Like I said, a mentor, a guy that has counseled me on many things. And so today we're gonna get into just maybe how we know each other, some of the things that we've done, some of the things that we've gotten into, and just talk about leadership. You and I have always, that's kind of about, it always goes back to our conversations to leadership somehow. So yeah,
we've been through a lot together. I mean, like leading and then being led over the years, and I just want to say this at the beginning. What is cool is to sit across the table from you, and see you live out the journey of Made for More that's always been in your heart. I mean, I thought about that today, and so I just want to say that it's so cool to see. You're not just living this Made for More life now. You have, and so what people don't get to see is what I've seen in your journey is you've been pursuing this. I was made for more and living it out. Now you're helping others do that. So it's cool. I'm just proud of you, man.
I appreciate it, dude. It's good to hear that. And we went to dinner, and sheesh, I had a steak and you had 2 fried chickens.
This lady I had so much chicken on my plate, she said, good luck.
Yeah, and we didn't, neither one of us finished our dinner, so if we sound a little, bloated, that's what's going on. But, yeah, and again, guys, here with me and making sure, again, go back to YouTube because Danielle and Jerry, they're here helping us out with the camera work, with the lights and some pictures, so looking forward to seeing some of that. Again, Jay, where did you grow up, man? Let's start from the very beginning, and we'll get to some leadership things. I'll stop and ask some questions, but tell us a little bit about where you grew up, man, where it all started.
Yeah, I grew up probably 45 minutes, maybe an hour from here in a little town called Snyder, Texas. Born and raised there. I went to high school there before I went off to college, but Snyder's just a small town, a little small oil field town, probably 12, 13,000 people. Loved it. It was a kind of a rural area. Went off to college to Brownwood, which is a small town too, but it had a mall, so we were like, dude, we just went up in the world, went to a big town. So, but I grew up in a small town life. Everyone knew everybody, kind of neighborhood where if you got caught doing something you weren't supposed to do, your neighbors whipped your butt. I grew up in that environment where I'd get a butt whipped when I got home. So, not too far from here, ironically. Kind of to come back to West Texas however many years ago. When I first was out here, it was cool to be back in the area, not too far from where I grew up. So,
sports in high school?
Played baseball, basketball up until, you can imagine, what are you laughing at? I was a center. I guess they called them a center or post back in the day. Until I was probably a freshman, and then my loves were football and baseball, and primarily baseball. So, those are the main sports I played.
What about favorite baseball player growing up, man?
Man, back in the day, it was like George Brett. You suck. Like George Brett. I like infield. I played second base in high school. Went on to play some college ball. Played third base. But I love pitchers. I love, of course, Noah and Ryan and those guys. I remember I used to watch back before they were on the. I think they played. Maybe I can't remember who their first professional team was, but Will Clark and Rafael Palmeiro. Remember Mississippi State? Thunder and Lightning is what they call them. So I watched them through college, and then I don't know if they both went on together.
San Francisco Giants. I know that Will Clark was one of my favorite players too. Yeah,
I just loved that combination, and of course Rafael Palmeiro went on to play with the Rangers.
Dude, that's cool. I remember you made me think of like Ryan Sandberg and Mark Grace for the Cubs, Andre Dawson, all those guys.
Who's the dude you drew that? Do the home run?
Mark McGwire.
Mark McGwire. I remember watching him just crush the ball.
Yeah, dude.
Jose Canseco.
The steroid era. Anyways, dude, that's awesome. So you went from Snyder to Brownwood.
Brownwood, went to Howard Payne.
And you played baseball there?
I played baseball. I started the first year playing football, and I was about 185 pounds. And even though it was a small college, I literally just got drove. I was a free safety. And, we would be doing tackling practice. And I just would get drove. Literally my ears would be ringing, and I'm like, I'm too little for this. And so went over to the baseball team, walked on. The day of tryouts, I looked at second base. There were 8 guys on second base and 3 guys on third base. And I was like, I can play third base.
In the hot corner, man.
Ended up started third base.
That's awesome.
And played 2 years there and loved it. Loved that environment. Back on the team. So dropped off of football after the first year and played baseball.
So what'd you go to school for, man?
I went to be, all my family's in oil field, and so never thinking I'd do anything different. So I started college. I went a semester at a little junior college in Snyder, Western Texas College. I was going to be a geologist. I was like, well, I'm going to be in the oil field. I'll do something different. But, and then when I transferred to Howard Payne, long story, that's another day. But that's what I was going to do, some kind of geology. And God started working in my life about, I had a guy that was my student minister say, hey, you ever think about doing ministry? And I had served in the summer before, just doing student stuff. And I can remember that day thinking, you mean I could like help people just for a living? And he said, yeah. And so I was like, man, if I could help people the rest of my life, I'd love to do that. Get to school and I'm on a specific academic scholarship, and I couldn't do anything but, what I was on in the academic scholarship. But I told God, if you want me to help people with ministry, you're gonna have to open the door in the next semester. The scholarship program changed.
Oh, wow.
And added a degree
for ministry. So student ministry or just ministry? Just
ministry in general. Started in student ministry, spent like 14 years in student ministry, and then just did my background, a variety of other kind of ministry.
Cool.
But yeah.
So far, you leave for college, and then you said you found that mentality of a team that you enjoyed at college, right? And then you just mentioned being able to help people, something that you wanted to do. So those two things obviously come into play from what I've seen in your life. And so you're at college. What next? Did you meet Sherry there?
We met actually the summer after my senior year in high school.
Okay.
And because I started going to church. We grew up going to church on and off, but I'll just be honest, I hated church. And so I got suckered into going to a youth camp my senior year. and really came to know Christ.
Yeah.
And met Sherry. I met her at church, and I was so drawn to her, just her love for Jesus. That's the bottom line. I was like, man, she's just different. And so we went summer after our senior year on a mission trip. And that's where she got smitten. It ain't hard. Look at it. It's over for her at that point. So we went off to Howard Payne together. To kind of
that's cool, man.
Dating, and then ended up getting married our junior year.
Okay.
At college.
So you graduate college, and then when does Erwin McManus come into place?
At the end of college, I was thinking I might go to seminary, and there was a guy in college that said, "Hey, I met this dude named Erwin," which was funny if you don't it's his story too.
So if you guys don't know who Erwin is, just go Google Erwin McManus, and he's not just one of the nation's leading pastors, but he's a creator. He has his own clothing line. What's funny now is you're about to hear Jay's story, but one of my old students was part of his dancing team at his church. She was a creative dancer. She also was on the set and danced with Hugh Jackman during the Greatest Showman.
Oh, wow.
She was also with Lady Gaga. So she's a dancer, but she found out that she could do that at that church in California. And he's a different kind of church guy. And he's an amazing leadership speaker as well. So go ahead, man. So you meet him there.
Yeah, so I'd never heard of him, and just before he'd written any books or anything. He was he had just gotten out of seminary. But this guy, I don't even know how the guy that I knew from college met him, but he said, "Hey, what are you going to do this summer after you graduate?" I'm like, "Well, I guess I'll go on to seminary."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Why don't you come for the summer and work with this dude named Erwin?"
Yeah.
And we have this ministry that basically we go to places that are urban churches that are completely dying. They're either going to sell their building to someone, or they're going to revision and decide they're going to stay in there and reach their urban community.
Yeah.
And we just do that. We just go to churches all summer that are dying and just try to help them. I was like, well, what do you get paid? And he's like, really, you get food and board. And Sherry and I were already married.
Yeah.
And so I was like, she was up for it. So yeah, we went to inner city Dallas from Howard Payne.
Wow.
And it was a wild ride.
Yeah, going from a small town, two small towns to inner city Dallas.
Yeah.
Son of a gun, man.
Yeah, I was totally redneck. I'd never been in an urban. I'd probably been to Six Flags.
Yeah.
We were in the inner city, Fitzhugh, East Grand, in what's called East Dallas, in the heart of East Dallas, where it connects to South Dallas. So you're talking about go from Snyder to I didn't even have a clue. I was like, hey man, what are gangs? The only thing I knew about gangs is that's the guys that worked on a pulling unit. And, I never heard of a gang.
Wow, man.
And here we were in the middle of Eastside Locos.
So what did Erwin bring to your life, leadership wise? What did you encounter? So again, he's a big leadership dude. You're leaving college, you graduate, you join this, again, that heart for helping people. Maybe tell us a little bit about what you found there.
Yeah, he is one of the people who I've continued even through having known him and then read his books. I mean, he's the person, you know, he's that person. He's been that person before he ever wrote a book. But man, his leadership was, this is going to sound a little, I have to explain it, but like incarnational. And I mean that in the, not in the spiritual sense, but like he was a leader that was in the trenches with you. He had such incredible big vision of like, we can help the world. He was the most courageous and bold and dreamer I had ever met. And at the same time, he was relationally just a guy that had the ability to make you feel valued as a team. And literally, he pulled together church planting teams. Just to give you an example, like, I think real leadership is so exemplified as you pull together a team that gets nothing out of it. Like, all of us work for free. And yet he had this multiple church planting teams involved in inner city ministry, and we were all working other jobs, and so that he just was very inspirational, very relational leader, and he just knew how to motivate in the sense that, man, he inspired you to greatness. He believed that you had greatness in you that God had put in you, and he had this ability to just draw that out of you. And he still does that today at Mosaic Church. He just is a person who is about inspiring others to live out the full, what they're made for.
Exactly, man. That's good. So you're there. I don't want to skip over a lot, but you're there. He leaves, correct?
He leaves we were there a couple of years, and at the same time, we'd been going out to California to this potential, it was a lot, or it was a massive vision. They were going to plant 100 churches in the next, I don't know what the year, but it was a mega city focus across, and LA was one of those cities. And so we'd gone out with him to do church planting conferences and do some seminars, and at some point they asked him to come and be the pastor of what used to be this old church called Church on Brady, First Baptist Church, Los Angeles. And he went out, and he invited us to go, but there were a handful of us that were like, we felt like we needed to stay behind with the inner city mission. And so we didn't go. We were like, man, we feel like we need to stay here and kind of continue the work we were doing at the 2 churches we were supporting in the inner city.
That's cool, man. So, again, I met you in 2000 or 99. So what year was that?
We started 1990, 91 to 92 or 3. And so we were only there in that window of probably 3 years.
And the reason I say that is there's still these years that I hadn't met you. So what unfolded that led you to, you're still wanting to help people, the team's important, but like what led you to the counseling side? Because you're a counselor, you have your doctorate degree, right? Your doctor?
Yeah, my D-Min. I have my D-Min in pastoral care and counseling. Then I have my counseling degree, my MA in counseling.
So he leaves. What happens next to where, like?
Man, we went through a transition of, the best way to describe inner city was, it was the most incredible experience of faith, but it was hard. It was just intense. We were dealing with just generational struggle with gang life and addiction, and it's the best way to put it. Like 3 years in inner city felt like 15 years in a suburban church. I'm not being demeaning. It's hard, it's intense. You pour your life into it, and of course I had 3 jobs because I was working in the church for free. So we reached a point where we thought, okay, it's time for us to transition out. We didn't know what we were going to do. And Erwin had left, and we established some leadership that next year with the church that we were with. So we felt like we could step away. And I was just totally like it's weird where God led us next. So I'm just like, we're tired, God. What do you want next for us? And I get a call from a dude I played baseball with at Howard Payne. He's like, I don't know what you're doing, but I need a coach and a teacher at this private school in Houston. I'm like, Houston. And I was like, Okay. So we go for 1 year.
Yeah.
And I go coach and teach.
Mm-hmm.
And love it, but I mean, we about starved to death. That's this guy, surely this guy ain't listening to this podcast, but
I say that, dude. And there's sometimes that I go,
it's probably his kid.
I probably won't
his kids
ever
are
say
probably.
this.
I promise you this guy ain't listening to the podcast because he doesn't listen to digital things.
Okay.
But that we were making $18,500
a year.
A year. We had 2 kids.
Son of a gun. Oh, okay, so stop right there. So you have 2 kids.
We have 2 kids. Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
We have Sheridan, that made the sign. We have her in 92. So she's in the inner city with us, in the middle of all that. It was an incredible experience just watching some of those gang members be just carried.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember the first time one of them was like, "Can I hold her?"
Yeah.
And Sheridan was like, I was like, yeah. And they were she just melted.
Yeah.
And they would
That's
sing
awesome.
to her, but yeah, she was in the inner city with us when we moved to Houston and coached. That's when we got pregnant with Courtney. We
Sherry.
back that up. Sherry. I mean, I participated.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Y'all.
We have 2 kids as well.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if y'all.
Oh my gosh. Go ahead.
We got pregnant with Courtney while I was coaching, and so we were still about to starve to death. So Sherry comes to me. She thought she had brain cancer. She came to practice. We're having 2-a-days, and she'd gone to the doctor, and she pulls the window down, and she's like, "I got good news and bad news." And I'm sweating. It's like 190 degrees, you know, humidity, and I'm just like, I was like, "What?" She goes, "I don't have brain cancer." I was like, "Thank God." She's like, "But I'm pregnant." We're both like,
"Oh my gosh,
what?
Oh,
we're getting for a baby." And so that's when we had our second girl, Courtney.
Yeah.
And when we were in Houston. Yeah.
Okay.
So
again, still around this team mentality. You're coaching, and then at some point you moved back to Midland.
Moved back to Midland.
Moved to Midland, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we moved to Laredo.
Son of a gun. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We spent 6 years on the border of Texas and Mexico doing mission work and student ministry. It was amazing. We
awesome.
loved it. So the girls kind of like
that. Yeah.
They spent a lot of their early years till 5 or 6 in Laredo, and we were at a church down there I was doing mission work, church planting, and doing student ministry, and then we loved it there, and we just felt like God was opening the door for us to come back. We'd been away from my family for a long time, and we still kind of came back home, even though Midland wasn't home. But in '94.
Okay.
I think that's right.
Okay.
96.
So you guys came to Midland.
Came back to Midland and worked at a church here.
Yeah, and then
that's where you and I.
Yeah, man. 1999, I came to church, and I think the first time that I think I had any interaction with you. Well, I mean, we went to a couple camps together, and you sang. We were dude, some of the things that come to mind when we talk about camps. Just some of the speakers, like the guy that flew off my in-laws' bikes. Oh, gosh, I don't know why I don't even know why I'm saying this, but he held the brakes down. Remember, he flipped over the front, and he walked into the lunchroom, and he wore all black to teach. So he turned around, and I was like, "Dan, did you fall?" And he goes, "Yeah, I hit the brakes on the bike, so I flew over the handlebars." And he wore his hair slicked back, so the back end of his hair was jacked. He had white rock, dirt, whatever, all over the back, and my in-laws' handlebar of the motorcycles were just jacked. But yeah, some of the things we saw together, and this is where it gets interesting, is so before we went to camps, I remember I graduated. I remember you asked, "Hey, what are you gonna be doing for the next few years of your life?" We were in the lobby of that church. I remember that specifically, and I said, "Hey, I don't know. I'm gonna stick around. Why?" And you go, "I'm gonna." And our college, or our senior class, was one of the larger ones at that church, and you said, "Well, we got to start something." So I said, "We got to start some kind of college class."
Yeah.
And I remember us doing some things.
Remember the
One Life?
What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing because,
dude, I've made that on Microsoft Publisher. It was legit.
It was Microsoft Movie Maker.
That was Windows Movie Maker.
Windows Movie Maker.
I was an innovator.
Yeah. Dude,
doing all those. I mean, they were like, I was up there with like Snoop Dogg. Does he make video?
No.
One
Anyways,
life, dude. That one life was like the most lame logo.
I found that logo, a bookmark in one of my books. But anyways, you and I meet. And Jamie and I weren't married yet, and we were just dating. She left to college, came back. And then again, you and I just spent some time together going through, just leading college students.
Yeah.
To, again, the reason we called it One Life, I think, is just because, obviously we have one life, but we were saying, go after this one life that you have. We did so many interesting things, and so we got to know each other there. And this is where some of our story takes a turn. I leave for a year to take a tour of the U.S. And one of our
group called, or was it
World Help. Yeah, still around. Vernon Brewer.
Yeah.
So I leave, and I remember again where I work now. My boss leaves, starts a church, and I remember I can't remember if we had this conversation. You said, "Hey, I want to pursue something else," and I was on the road, and then one of the things I have written down is what happens in life when adversity hits because something doesn't go the way it's planned. So you go in with an idea of, I'm going to go try something. I'm going to tell my boss, hey, I have an idea.
Yeah.
And then what happens?
Yeah, you're talking about
that place. Yeah.
Man, I went in thinking he would be so supportive of this, what I thought was next in our life, and he pretty much just said, hey, if your heart's not here, you're fired.
Yeah, man.
I didn't have anything to do next. I just wanted to be a part of this, this sending church that we were supporting, and to his credit, being on the other side of leadership, you see, which we've always said, hey, you don't know till you sit in the chair. I think he took it like, hey, I don't really want to work for you anymore. I really want to do something really creative, and this is not. However he took it, but he just. But I was so scared to go ahead and ask him, because I was really inviting him in to help. Like, hey, I think this is what God wants, but I'm really trusting this with you. Man, I felt hurt and betrayed, and he's like, well, you're not gonna stay here, then you got 3 weeks to find a job. Okay. And my wife was going through, cancer.
What was crazy was I was on tour. I called back and I had heard, hey, Jay is leaving, or he got let go. Yeah. But then knowing that Sherry had just been diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, she was walking through the cancer, and so.
And no insurance.
We had insurance. The weird thing is we had insurance, but all of the copay and all of the sent us into terrible debt because you think you have insurance, but 20% of a $2 million hospital bill or something. Yeah. You're like, holy mackerel.
So. Yeah. Let's stay right there for a second. So you're part of really here it was a successful organization, a successful church, right? You go in and you're let go, but in the heart of that, what was the heartbeat behind what you wanted to do?
I think I was working through again this whole theme that you and I dreamed about. Like I wouldn't have said, well, I probably would have said maybe. I knew that God was calling me to do something more. And so again, to that pastor, he's probably hearing like, I don't know, stay here in Loserville, I probably didn't say it, but I was trying to say, I feel like God's asking more of me, that I was made for more than the, it's going to sound like kind of just the status quo. And the opportunity to help start something that had never been done. That's what I always felt drawn to. Let me go where someone else doesn't want to go. I want to help be a part of that. So that's what I had worked through that and thinking I just really want to take a step and risk and go help with this new start. So that's really what we were thinking through, and it just went horrible. It went bad. So within 4 weeks I was out at work. We were on COBRA insurance, and she was still going through some final treatments, and I was just rocked. I was like, I'm a loser. I can't provide for my family. I didn't have a job.
2 kids.
I had 2 kids. We lost everything financially.
Man,
just like I can remember sitting. I may have told you this, but I can remember sitting in a recliner, and we had the house we stayed in. You had one of those ceiling fans that wasn't. I probably installed it so it went. I just sit there, and I don't know if I slept for 4 or 5 weeks, I just would tell my wife, hey, I'm gonna stay up, and I just watch that thing go squeak back and forth and think, what have I done to my life? What have I done to my family? I've let them down. I should have never taken a risk. I should have, you know, so all that kind of sense of failure as a husband and
and I know, and we'll stop here and there to discuss some of this stuff, but like just a while ago when you and I were eating, we discussed that when someone takes a leap and starts something that's they're following their heart, like you, and this is nothing to do with the situation you just talked about, but I want people to listen, that people that are listening and watching, to remember that when you jump out and you begin to take a step and it's successful, you are motivating and encouraging and inspiring people to do what they maybe gave up on in their life, and they're going, I can do this, I can go after it. But then there's the critic side that they've given up on what they've dreamed of, and so they lash out. And I'm not saying this will happen to you, but it's so easy to be the guy that is negative because your dreams didn't work out. So you see someone take off and it's going, and what do we say? You say, oh man, it must be nice because look, they have everything together, but you don't know the work that's going in. It's the whole discipline equals freedom. They're staying up at night, they're working their butts off. So I want the listeners to understand that yes, you have this dream and you're going after it, and where you're at today, but basically remember that if you chase your dreams, if you go after something and you're dreaming, there's going to be critics that are going to get upset because you're helping them reignite something in their heart that they go, I never could achieve that, but it still lives there. And then the other side, you're encouraging people to go, it's never too late to go back after what you're dreaming of, right?
For sure. I think, the misconception sometimes is, especially when you talk about risk in leadership, whoever told us that it wouldn't be hard, right? I mean, if you look back now, you go, why did I think pursuing something more would not be hard? Why did I think I wouldn't face adversity, or it would be? And sometimes, thank goodness, it's like doors open and the seas part. But most of the time in our lives and people that we know, that you see someone having a life of incredible influence, you know nothing about the journey and the hard work and kicking doors open and having doors slammed in their face and never giving up on a dream and everything wanted inside them wants you. So I think it taught me so much about, when you decide you're going to go after something, a dream or something more, it's going to be hard. Like, why wouldn't I think that? And so we did, in that moment, I'm not saying I went back and was like, this is freaking awesome. Everything it fell apart, but it taught me so much about adversity. People can walk away and go, I'm not going to take another risk. See, it was hard. Or I think you just have the courage to go, this is not going to stop me.
I mean, we hear of all those athletes, I mean, not all of them, but some athletes that have left a legacy that said, hey, I was wanting to give up. I mean, I know that it was Mental Health Awareness Month. It was last month, I think. And I mean, I'd never heard this about one of my, like, I'd say idols. Ken Griffey Jr., when he said he took, I don't know how many pills to kill himself because of the pressure of chasing a dream. And again, one of the youngest players ever to reach all these home runs. But again, you don't understand, again, the trying to reach the goal and the adversity that comes with it. We often heard you can do anything you want to do. You tell your kids that, and I remember being told, hey, you can be anything you want to be when you grow up. Really? Because it's a load, man, because you realize, I want to be a quarterback for the NFL. Well, I'm not tall enough, I'm not big enough, and then so nowadays and it's the same thing when, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, change who, what to who do you want to be? Start to tell people to go, hey, who is more important than what you do? So you're working on your character. But anyways, so
that's good.
So we're in Midland. You lose your job. I'm on this tour. And this is 2000. Man, I don't know, 2002,
5.
Oh wow, maybe. Oh, yeah, you might be right.
4 or 5.
It's probably 4.
I think I left in 4 or 5, and
2004. Yeah, because
2004.
I just remember being in San Diego when we caught Saddam Hussein. No, the only reason I'm tying it to that is because I remember whatever was in the news at the time. We were in California when Saddam Hussein got caught, and I'm trying to think when that was, but it's probably 2004. We finished that year out, come back home, And so what are you doing? So what are you doing after you get I mean, Sherry's walking through chemo treatment. You have 2 daughters.
Yeah, she's walking
so
through
what happens,
some major surgeries at the end of that. So we are, you know, in that moment, you're leading your family. You're kind of like, I'm not going to lay down. And so you just do what you need to do. I love your transition to who you are, because interestingly enough, through that huge season of adversity, God pulled me toward it's who I am as a leader, even in leadership. So I think it really became clear to me who I am is more important than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Who I am is what I'm doing, where I'm going, in my assignments. And I think it helped me, that adversity helped me separate. It's not what I'm doing, it's who I am and what I bring to the context. Anyway,
it's good. It's good.
So, but I'm trying to this is like a bomb drops and your ears are ringing. You're like, what do I do? And I just get up and go, I got to do something to provide for my family. And I think I did all kind of, like I sold Aflac for like a.
I remember that. I remember that.
I had so many, talk about getting a door shut in your face. And did that, but I met a guy that God just put in my life, and for like 3 or 4 months I sold Aflac, and I transitioned. This guy walks up to me one day, and I'm at some kind of men's retreat or something. Some guy made me go to, and he said, "Do you need a job?" He just walked straight up to me. I was like, "Maybe." And he's like, "You need to call this guy." And I called this guy, and I end up at that point. This is when I transitioned. Never thought I would ever do. This is where I slowly moved toward stepping into context of brokenness. And so it's a chaplain that works for Hospice.
Oh yeah, I remember that, man. I totally forgot about Hospice.
Like,
son of a gun.
Someone told me you really had the heart of a shepherd to help care people.
Yeah.
And he's like, so I just called this guy, and he's like, I don't know why I'm calling you, but this guy gave me a number, and he's like, he starts describing it, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't think I could do this.
Yeah.
And I end up stepping into this realm of hospice of people.
Man.
I became a chaplain over my census, is what they call your patient data, census, your patient load. I had 60 terminal patients assigned to me.
Man.
And stepped into that world. And at the same time, and a total side different stories when I started that company.
Yeah.
Through a chain of events of just do hard work, just do it.
Stay with it.
I start doing this deal and end up starting a chemical company on the side.
Oil business.
With another guy.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to see chaplain hospice patients sometimes with a trailer behind my truck hauling chemical.
Yep.
So they call me the chemical chaplain. That's what they used to laugh. And it's this weird chain of events where I just end up doing that in the mix of it, and it leads to just so many significant changes in our family and really redirects my future.
Yeah, and you're focused on who you need to be, right?
Yeah, because I've lost, like, I think if I can't quote work at this church deal, or I've lost my calling. I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And God's like, who you are.
Yep.
You need to lead out of who you are.
Yeah.
And I just do that while I'm out on chemical talking to people, and I realize who I am. It goes all the way back to that first thing I said when I talked to the student ministry. I love helping people make sense of broken stories.
Yep.
That's who I am.
Yeah.
That's me. I'm not a counselor. I'm a person who loves to come alongside someone that's just felt like, man, I can't make sense of all the junk, and just help them make sense of a broken story.
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately I transition toward, no matter what I'm doing for it.
Yeah. So. And I know during that time I came back, started working for Finish Line, and we play golf on Tuesday and Thursday, almost every Tuesday, Thursday with Drew. I don't know if Drew ever listened to this. Drew is the inventor of
Mother Scratcher.
The word Mother Scratcher. He teed off on that.
Right.
He didn't know you were like a chaplain.
We do a whole round of golf or something, and before he knew, I can't remember.
Yeah, we played a couple times, I think, and then we were about to tee off on that par 5, and he just got up. He goes, and I told him, Jay's a pastor. He's like, what? And And he had every colorful word.
He was such a funny dude.
Yeah, he was, and he's a good guy. And he was about to tee off, and he remembered that you were a pastor, chaplain. He goes, I'm about to
lean on
this mother, and he just said scratcher.
Yeah.
From there on, we just kept saying mother scratcher.
I'm about to lean on this mother scratcher.
So
you and I said that all the time.
We still say it.
It's a legal cuss word then.
Yeah, exactly. So you're talking about helping people go through adversity, making sense of their hurt, and so for those of you guys listening, there's this episode and the next episode are gonna be the interview with Jay. But so we were playing golf. I don't know how all this happened, but I remember playing golf with Drew, and you didn't play with us that day. We went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and then I got a call that your brother was gone.
Yeah.
And so I know some of the stuff we didn't prep that we're going to talk about this, but talk about brokenness, man. I remember going, what in the world?
Yeah, man.
And so, how many years has that been?
It's 2006.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, in fact, his anniversary's coming up this June, every June.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hands down the toughest day of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was working at Hospice. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, you can, man. Go for it, so these guys can understand it.
Yeah, I was at Hospice, and my sister-in-law called me one morning. She's like, I don't know where your brother's at. He left to go to work, and I don't know where he's not at work. They called, and I'm like, hey. And so, for some reason, she said, I called the hotels, and I think at some point he'd struggled some with depression over the years, and he struggled with addiction on and off.
Yeah.
But evidently, I didn't even know this, that sometimes he might just peel off and go check into a hotel and just tell her, I'm going to hang out. So she starts just calling hotels, and so she finds that he's checked into this hotel there in Midland, and she's like, he's over here, we can't get him to answer the phone, they won't tell us where he's at.
Yeah.
For security reasons. Can you just come? And I'm like, okay. So I get in my car thinking, and I talk my brother out of stuff like this, but I'll just get there and be like, hey man, what's up? It's all gonna be okay. And so I get there, and they won't tell us the room, which I guess is a normal, unless you have an ID or something, you must want to not be bothered. And I was like, listen, he's in a bad place. And she's like, the only thing you can do is call the police or the sheriff, and they'll come. So we did. And so they showed up, and they come that day, and just, that's one of those moments where you just never see it replay every time. So they pull up, and we're standing under where you check in, and they have their guns drawn toward the rim because they don't know.
They don't know what
he
they're
has a
about
gun,
to.
And so they're all have their weapons drawn, and just in unison they all holster their weapons.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is not good. And that one deputy just turns, and he just comes walking to me, and it just felt like 100 years. He just said, hey, your brother's not with us anymore. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. I was like, I need to get in there, please. And he goes, we can't let you go in. And it just stopped. Time just stopped. I turned to my sister-in-law, and she was a ways away, and I was like, I tell her. I can remember thinking, if I don't walk over there, her world won't be destroyed. Right now, she's okay. I couldn't make myself take a step. And so finally I just walk over there, and I tell her, and just devastate her, and I have to call my mom and dad, and we go to tell, we have to go to his house, and I tell his kids, and I think that's one of the hardest things is sit with. I can't remember how old his kids. Our kids were all about the same age, but
Blake, right? I remember Blake because he was one of our students.
Blake was, he wasn't even there. He came in later that afternoon, but Brady, the youngest, was in there with our kids, and I was trying to explain to them that their dad had passed away. How do you? I'm like, what? They didn't know what the term meant. I was like, well, he'd been sick, and he died, and Brady just yells, oh my God, what am I going to do without my dad? And man, and then Blake comes in, and he's playing his drums in the garage, just getting down. And I got to walk out there, and he knew right when I walked out and hugged him and just crushed him. So yeah, it just changed, you know, I've never experienced anything that breaking internally. I couldn't, when I finally got home, you know, I'm trying to hold together.
Yeah.
It wrecks me. I'm trying to hold together, get home. And I can remember crying, and I just couldn't stop crying physically.
Yeah.
Sherry just hugged me, and I just could not stop crying. And I woke up the next morning, and I thought, man, I had this terrible dream.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh my gosh, my brother's gone. So it obviously, you know, for people who've been through suicide with a family member, it rocked me.
Yeah, man, and
how did you find? I mean,
I remember, dude, I cannot recall. I remember sitting at Buffalo Wild Wings with Drew, and someone texted me, dude. I cannot remember who texted me. I wanted to know how my brother would have known. My brother was so young, but someone told him. I think he told me through a text, and I think I reached out to you and you said, "Yeah, it's true." I didn't even know what to say. And then Drew and I were like, man, what in the world? And yeah, I was at Buffalo Wild Wings. We were watching some, I guess, basketball, NBA. And man, yeah, just thinking through just so far. And I think that's what I think about when I think of you, is to go, man, from losing your job to Sherry's cancer, raising your kids, getting back on your feet, and then helping these people. And then again, chaos just hits, and going, it's that thought process that goes through my head to go, if there's someone that, you know what I mean when I say doesn't deserve it, like why would this happen to someone that is doing what he needs to be doing? And it happened. Didn't happen. I mean, it happens to everyone, right?
Sure.
But it's, how are you going to respond? And that was what was crazy, was being able to be there with you and not know everything that you're thinking, but to go, I'd never been with someone that had lost someone like that, to go, I know Jay, like, that's crazy, these things that have been happening. And so, yeah, you're walking through hospice, you're walking through with helping broken families, and then all of a sudden yours is, again, just chaos in your life.
Yeah, I tell you, when you're in it, you certainly feel like, you know, you just want to give up. You know, at some point you're like, man, like you either want to just go, why is every attempt that seemed like there was a point where I was like, man, all I want to do is try to help people, and it seemed like everything is against me, right? And so those are the moments where you're like, do I believe in kind of what I'm made for? And it tests you to kind of go, well, I mean, I'm going to keep moving forward even if I meet all of the adversity. Irony was, again, I mean, we can say it now on this side of it. If I felt like one of, you know, it's probably a strong way to put it, if I'm kind of made to be a person who helps people through broken stories.
Man.
What better preparation?
It's easy
for
to
me
say
to
on
look
this
back
side,
at
right?
to go like, well, I've been through a lot of broken story myself, so that really helped me understand and experience and be able to say to someone, hey, I didn't just read this in a book, like, I know what it's like to have something ripped out of your life. And so it, you know, in the middle of it, you don't feel that, but it definitely, God was using it in my life to, I think, give me a heart for broken people as I walked through it. But man, it was hard. It was hard on our family. It was hard on. Had a lot of support with you guys. And you know, just people come alongside me. But there's just nothing that could prepare you for that. And sudden loss like suicide is unlike any other loss, because there's, you know, it leaves all the what did we do? What did we miss? Why did they do that? It's even different than, I mean, there's still that, well, they got suddenly killed in a car wreck or something. It's
totally
still
different.
Hard. But this is like, he did this to himself.
Man.
And so it's just tough.
So again, thinking through that, to go, if someone's walking through something, or somebody maybe has walked through something, I keep thinking that sometimes the light bulb comes on when they go, oh, I went through that years ago, so that now I'm in someone's life, to use that to influence someone to go. Because sometimes I think we shortchange our story and go, I can't be used for this. Well, don't ever neglect that, because you may be encountering someone that's not talking about what they're going through, and then the minute they open up, you go, hey, I have that in my life that I can share that. But like you said, that's on the other side of this years later, and it's still fresh. But
I think you can really, I mean, like, this idea that you can, it's a recovery term, right? I think recycle your pain, is a huge reality. But we have to be careful how we say it to people, because if I'm going to say,
yes,
well, God gave, because that's where you can, that's where you really can hurt someone, to kind of say like, hey, God did this to you, so you can help other people.
Yeah.
But I'd say it this way: even the broken struggles you don't ever want to talk about again, God can use and redeem and recycle those, and there's always another person that needs to hear what you've walked through, and so.
And that's not easy, man.
No, it's not. It's like it's not, and yet it's healing at the same time.
Yeah, it's
the more
healing.
And you tell someone, you understand, you think, it does help you heal as you go. Hey, I can allow my pain to help another person, and in that whole thing, you begin to find some healing, because you can't. It's odd. I've talked to more people, obviously, about suicide.
No doubt.